All right, that's more like it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another, hopefully more pleasant version of a Locked On Illini post-game edition. My name is Sonny Verma. You can find me on all your favorite social medias. Do a quick search for Locked On Illini. Say hello, say something nice, say something not so nice. Today, I'd imagine that it's going to be a little nicer. 9-point victory over the Northwestern Wildcats, which quite honestly felt like it was more than that. And then I don't know what happened. Illinois over the last, 90 seconds or so just kind of got lazy. But I think ultimately even that could have been a good thing. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But Illinois just looked impressive today. And everything that we were all nervous about, even the absence of a Vicic and the absence of a big man, just wasn't an issue. Morez Johnson had one of his best games of the season at 15-9 and in 34 minutes. Morez Johnson, when he plays 34 minutes, you're in good shape as an Illinois fan. Normally, it's the referees and him getting into foul trouble early that causes him to not play as many minutes. But someone can confirm this, whether this is right or wrong. But I think I saw on X that they weren't Big Ten refs today, that this was an outside unit. And you can kind of see it. This game was refereed a little differently. And you can kind of see how the Big Ten trains their units, refereeing units, to referee in a certain way where we didn't exactly see today. Thank you all so much for tuning in on this post-game edition. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed. Of course, this marks day 27, I think, or 28 straight days of Illini content. And I love doing that because you guys keep supporting the channel. It's because of you. Just a couple days ago, I passed 2,000 subscribers. So I just wanted to say one more time, I sincerely appreciate it. So where do we begin? Illinois, right off the bat, you could see what Northwestern's strategy was. Tomislav Vicic is out, so let's not let Kasparis beat us. That's what Northwestern was thinking immediately. And it may be a sound strategy, but the rest of the team beat them. It was one of those where at one point in the first half, Illinois was up 23 points, and they hadn't even, Kasparis hadn't even scored yet. It was just a clinic. Basically, everyone, six guys scored in double figures today for a team that scored 83 points. So this isn't one of those where Illinois scores 104 points and they get 5-6 guys in double figures. This was a collective team effort, as I tried to mention in the title of this particular postgame episode. When Illinois plays like this, they're just going to be hard to beat. As I always say, if you want to know whether Illinois won or lost the game, and you're not allowed to see the final score, just take a look at the rebounding. And after this game, Illinois, according to CBS, so this is unofficial. Obviously, you guys know I go live immediately after the games, so I don't get the official box score right away. Illinois with 44 rebounds, Northwestern with 24. Illinois almost doubles up the Northwestern Wildcats in rebounding, and that's how you know that the game was, for the most part, for most of the game, in hand. Ben Hummerkaus carried the load offensively in the first half, at least. I believe he had 3 or 4 3-pointers in that first half. And, I said this in the Discord. And by the way, if you're not in the Discord, the link should be in the description. We banter all day, every day. In particular, we talk a lot during the game. But you can see the difference of this basketball team when Ben is just hitting his open jump shots. It's really comes down to it being that simple. If Ben is doing what he was brought here to do, what he's obviously doing in practice, it just opens up the floor for everybody else. And, hand up, I was very worried. I think literally the title of my last episode was something along the lines of Vicic's injury could prove to be a disaster for the Illini. And it's because, I don't know who else was going to step up, especially with the way the team's been playing lately. But today you had a collective effort of 6 guys who all stepped up. Even Trey White was only 2 points off of averaging double figures himself. It was just again, I usually go through the players in the second segment, so I'll wait to get on that. But holding down Brooks Barnheiser, potential conference player of the year, to 3 points on 1 of 7 shooting. He played 26 minutes. So getting 3 points and 3 rebounds in 26 minutes, their best player. Martinelli had 17, but really they, for the most part, kept the Northwestern Wildcats in check. They dared Northwestern to shoot 3-pointers. Thing is, Northwestern does not want to shoot 3-pointers. And so we don't say this very often, but it was just quite honestly a very good coaching job by the Illini, and in particular Brad Underwood today. He had the team ready. The atmosphere wasn't as raucous as we'd probably hoped. Seeing games like at Mackey and some of the other Big Ten games, I do wish that the crowd can get a little bit louder. Sometimes I had to double check just to make sure the volume on my TV was working. But Casparis with 11, 10, and 7. Everyone really collectively had a pretty solid game. The end of the game was somewhat worrisome. I talked about, hey, this would be great if Illinois can have another 20-plus point victory against a conference foe, because that's what it looked like we were headed towards. If anything, it looked like we could have won that game by 25, if not 30 plus. But then again, Northwestern just goes on a 7-0 run in 39 seconds at the end of the game. Then all of a sudden, with 50 some odd seconds left, Illinois is forced to a free throw shooting game. And, fortunately, Illinois was able to prevail, but the game should have never gotten to that level. But even honestly, that's a positive, right? Because for what we saw for 38 minutes today, it would be hard for Brad to go into the locker room and come up with, hey, we should have done this better, because Illinois played a really solid all-around game. But the fact that, the awareness just seemingly left for those final 90 seconds to 2 minutes, that Will Riley inbounds pass, I'm so glad that Brad benched him immediately afterwards. And everyone at the game who's covering the game mentioned that Brad was going off on the team in that last timeout that they had to take with, again, something like a minute left. And that's good. That it's something to bring back to the locker room. And he's going to talk about it. It's when you have the foot on the throat, don't let up. Northwestern struggled today. But this Illinois team, they're not, we don't know if they're good enough necessarily to let up like that, because a team that is shooting well, all it takes is one hot streak at the end for a Purdue or a Michigan, and they're right back into that game. Luckily, Northwestern just was not having it today. Ultimately, they shot 30 for 68, 10 for 25 from 3-point land. Illinois just simply had a very good game plan for the Wildcats, and it proved to be a victory. And that's kind of what we asked for, especially after the nervousness that we've had since that Ivisic injury. A lot of people, at 5-4, and the risk of going 5-5, and not even that, losing to your in-state rival, getting swept by them, which hasn't happened in 60 or 70 years. It was in the back of a lot of people's minds. But it's just nice that Illinois took care of business. Let's talk about some of the individual players right after this. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was dealing with piles of paperwork and frustrating forms, and then waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. Now, Taxes is easily uploading your forms to TurboTax Expert, who's matched to your unique tax situation. An expert who's backed by the latest technology, which cross-checks millions of data points for 100% accuracy. While they work on your taxes, you get real-time updates on all their progress, and you get the most money back guaranteed, all while you go about your day. No stressing, no worrying, no waiting. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service real-time updates, only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantee. It turns out when Morez Johnson is allowed to play the game of basketball, Morez Johnson is a very, very good basketball player. Again, I think clearly, let me know if you guys disagree. By the way, this is a live episode, so I'm observing your comments, and I'll get to them in the third segment. So please let me know your opinions on the game. But my clear MVP for today was Morez Johnson. 15 points, 9 rebounds. I'm actually surprised he didn't get the double-double, which, by the way, Kasparis did, which we'll get to in a little bit. 15 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks in 34 minutes. If Morez Johnson plays the way he did today, and he's allowed to with a minute's allotment, Illinois will be fine. Again, it's not the starting position that I'm necessarily worried about. It's just the guys behind him, which, by the way, I should just mention, 8-man rotation today. I thought that was really, really interesting. Brad decided not to involve Kerry Booth, which I thought he would, but in a way, I don't think today you needed him. With the way Jake Davis, who I'll get to next, was shooting, 11 points for Jake today, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 3 for 6 from three-point land in just 16 minutes. The strategy was clear. Northwestern doesn't have the bigs that they can throw it down low, and those bigs can back you down and score a bucket like Maryland has. Maryland, Derek Queen and Julian Reese made the Illini players' lives hell. And, it was embarrassing for us to watch Jake Davis try to defend a post up. But Northwestern really doesn't have those type of guys. And so what Brad countered with was, hey, we'll throw Jake Davis out there and have him make a couple threes. Now, all of a sudden, Northwestern has to send their 5 out to guard Jake, out to the three-point line. And that's kind of why that rebounding difference was just so incredibly big. Again, 44 rebounds for the Illini, 24 for the Northwestern Wildcats. When Jake Davis's shots are falling, again, the space on the floor just gets that much wider for this offense. And now Kasparis, a guy who didn't have a great shooting night, 5 for 10, but only 1 for 5 from three-point land, but he had 10 assists. He had 11 points, 10 assists, 7 assists and 10 rebounds, 3 assists shy from getting that triple-double. But we didn't need a big Kasparis game, right? I think in the pregame on Saturday, where I previewed the keys to this game, I said that we needed a Kasparis I'm him game. And while it didn't really happen on the point side, again, I think he got his first bucket with 3-4 minutes left in the first half. It's because collectively the rest of the team just stepped up. And Kasparis got, plenty of assists, and he was the playmaking Kasparis that we need. And when the team plays like that, for at least what we saw for the first 38 minutes, a lot of teams are going to have trouble beating this Illinois team. And that's, without Ivisic. Once Ivisic gets back, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later, and I know I'm going to have a couple comments on that. There's no update, but it's a positive thing that he's on the bench. Because if he's on the bench, he's past the phase where he's contagious in any sort of way. So now it's just maybe kind of a waiting game to see him physically feel better. But, even that can take weeks, if not months. I wish I had more information than that, but Illinois is understandably being very secretive about that. Ben Harmachhaus, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 4 for 9 from three-point land. He made his first few, and it was he struggled. I think he forced up a couple in the second half, which, again, I don't mind. When Ben shoots, it's generally good for the Illini, so I want him to shoot three-pointers. I don't want him to hesitate. But I just think that early in the game, when he made his first 2 within just a couple minutes of each other, that kind of opened the game up. Because that's when all of a sudden Northwestern realizes, okay, we have to guard him. We have to guard the guy. And that just opens things up for everyone else. And when Kasparis has an open floor and space, he becomes all that more dangerous. He becomes that guy that NBA GMs are whispering, could be a top 3, top 5 NBA draft pick. Kylan Boswell, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Nice box score game. And, I think he played solid overall, but he's also one of the guys who I'm kind of targeting at the end of the game, who was kind of responsible for this just relapse of attention and awareness that Illinois had. Just silly shots. As soon as they took Kasparis out, assumingly just to rest him for the rest of the game, and you hand the ball handling duties to Kylan, Kylan takes a step back three-pointer that you just don't need to take. and just some poor shots in general and passes. And I'm sure Brad Underwood's going to get him on that. It's one of those where he's a junior, and he shouldn't be doing that. He's one of the main reasons that Illinois got into the vulnerable position that they got into at the end of that game. Speaking of Will Riley, what was that pass? That was one of the worst passes I've ever seen. The guy, Northwestern player, was right in front of him, and he hands it to him, and it was the easiest layup of that Wildcats player's probably basketball playing life, and that includes the elementary school. Will, in general today, 4 points on 2 for 9 field goals. Again, the shots are still not falling for him. 18 minutes, 2 turnovers. Not a great game. I may be in the minority at this point when I say this, but I do like that he keeps shooting. I said this about Ben about a month ago. I want the shooters to shoot. We saw a glimpse of what he can do in that first half against Michigan State. And yeah, he struggled in that second half once foul trouble started affecting him. But for Will, it's just one of those guys where I've said this in the Discord earlier today. Will Riley's the difference between an Illinois Sweet 16 ceiling or a Final Four ceiling. And, hopefully this could very well be one of those seasons where we just wait him out and he doesn't quite reach where we want him to. And it's going to be one of the big regrets of the season, or he does. And, right now we've got a stretch where all winnable games, and that's the only way I'm going to phrase it. There's no easy games for Illinois on the schedule because we've shown what Illinois does in what's perceived to be easy games. They still lose games that they're strongly favored in. But certainly the next 5 games are all winnable. They're going to be, but they've got to take care of the work on the court, right? Michigan comes in March 2nd, and that's really the next thing we're going to need of Visich. But I'm curious. I'm glad today we didn't have Morez Johnson in foul trouble, so we didn't have to see what strategies and the staff has planned for if when Morez goes down, which big are we going to trust? We didn't have to deal with that today, which is nice. We kind of needed this easier win that Illinois got on Sunday, but that's not how it's always going to be. And the next game, or the following game, I believe we play Ohio State. We've got Rutgers up next, I believe. Those teams are going to challenge Morez because Northwestern did. Morez, every time Morez was guarding Martinelli attacked the rim, and the idea was clearly obvious. Hey, let's get a foul on Morez, and let's see how Illinois adjusts. They didn't have to adjust today. They were very fortunate. Just, again, all-around great game for Illinois today for 38 minutes or so. Exactly what we needed. This was one of those games where 5 minutes in, you could see that the game was in hand, and it was a simple matter of how much they were going to win by. And that's what Illini fans needed, and I think that's what this team needed. Let's get to your comments right after this.
From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed, that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, if you haven't already, Illinois wins this game, so we need to get those likes up. We're at about 58 people watching and 24 likes. So it's not bad, but you know what? The math is still not mathing. Let's celebrate this win. Let's end the weekend on a good note, because it certainly didn't start off on a good one. By the way, for this week, I've got a lot of good Illini football news coming up as well. At some point, we're going to be talking about the big Junior Day weekend that they had today. There's a lot of potential future Illini in the audience today on the football side. And I'm glad that they got to see a show. As for your comments, let's start off with Jason says, end of this game execution was horrible. Seems like they just kind of gave up and started playing flat. I don't understand, especially after the way they've been playing lately. Yeah, and quite honestly, Jason, a lot of it had to do with Kylan. If you get a chance to watch those last couple minutes again, It looked like he thought the game was over, or that he thought that Northwestern was just going to let the clock run out at that point. But that's not a Northwestern Wildcats team. That's not what Chris Collins does. As much as we don't like them because they're the Illini rival, you have to respect Chris Collins. He's himself is a very good coach, and he's gotten Northwestern to reach heights that they've never reached before. And it's because of his coaching. And we know that no matter what, Northwestern is going to give it their all. And so that's why that's one of those teams that can all of a sudden, when the difference has been 20 points the entire game, hustle their way back to make an 8-point game with 50 seconds left. Because if you give up, they certainly are not. So they'll take all the free points that they can get. Kellen says, a win is a win is a win. Let up bad at the end, but the first half run proved insurmountable for Northwestern. Yeah, it's just disappointing. And I know Brad's pissed that he had to bring Kasparis back in at that 50-second mark. And again, he took Will Riley out immediately, which is a good thing. It's one of those where it's a teachable moment for Will. I know Will probably threw that pass, saw that happen in front of his face. He looked immediately at the referee. Like, can you please bail me out on this? Because I'm about to get yelled at by my coach. And there was nothing. It was just one of those where I'm sure if they talked to Will after the game, like, I don't know what I was thinking. My bad. But, hopefully it just doesn't happen again. And if anything, to have this teachable moment now when, we still had the game, as Kellen said, pretty much in check. Now's the time for those teachable moments. You don't want it to happen when we're only up 4. And, it's a game against, Michigan State or something like that at the end of the game. Kellen says, on a positive note, lots of guys in double figures spread the ball in the half court well. Yeah, honestly, as I said, this was a collective team effort. When Illinois passes the ball the way they did, again, only 8 guys played today. 8 guys, and 6 of those 8 hit double figures. No, 5 of those 8. Sorry, 5 of those 8 hit double figures, and Trey White was only 2 away. Trey White had 2 points on 4 of 8 shooting. He's kind of disappeared a little bit. But again, I've said this about Trey White. Trey White, no matter what his box score is, always has the quietest. Like, even if he goes off for 20 points, it's the quietest 20 points that you're going to find. He just does dirty work, and he's a guy Illinois is going to need, once that run in March comes. Philip says, the get right game. Absolutely. Connie says, Harvey was watching football and snuck in and out most of the game. Nice win regardless of that end. Butt whooping, good game, Morez. Oh, yeah. I mean, I try to tone down my Morez Johnson fanboyism because that's what I know it can get perceived as. But remember, this is the postgame. The postgame, anything counts. You're allowed to have any hot takes that you want, and I'm allowed to make any hot takes I want. Doesn't mean I'm going to believe it 24 hours later, but seeing a Morez Johnson play 34 minutes, I'm telling you, this kid is just so incredibly talented. He really has the chance to be one of the better players that Illinois has had in a very long time. And that says a lot because Illinois has had a lot of good players. And for me, it's just the idea that he's been committed to the Illini since he was a sophomore in high school. And we know right now, high school players drop their commitments just a couple weeks after they're 100% committed to X school. And yet Morez just stayed loyal. And, honestly, he's been overshadowed, understandably, by Kasparis and Tomislav, who are having great seasons themselves as first-year guys. But Morez Johnson is one of the best freshmen in the conference, and I can't wait to see what he looks like next year. After having another year under his belt, working with Fletch and working with Orlando Antigua, who's known as one of the best big men coaches in the country. I'm really, really excited for that. And by the way, we talked about this in the Discord. I need to find that shirt that Tomislav Vavisic had, that Morez Johnson Jr. shirt. So if you're watching this afterwards and the link to that, drop that link in this chat. I got to wear this for a future episode. Illini Dave asks, how long is Tommy out for? We don't know, Dave. Unfortunately, with mono, it's one of those where it just affects different people different ways. Some guys, it can affect them for months, and I don't think this is the case. And I'm not even remotely outing this, saying, oh, he could be out for the year. But with mono, you don't necessarily know. He could be out for the year. I doubt it. Don't get me wrong. I doubt that. But he could very well be back for Rutgers or Ohio State next Sunday. I've talked to multiple, medical professionals, and they all say the same thing. It really varies from player to player. There's, I believe, Kalkbrenner. I mentioned this in a previous episode. He only missed 4 games last year when he had mono. So it's just one of those. We just have to wait and see. You just assume the best, and hopefully we don't get into situations like Maryland, where all of a sudden, if Morez gets into foul trouble, then Illinois and Brad Underwood are really scrambling to figure out what to do. See, Serena says, finally, the refs let them play. Amen. Morez still needs to work on his screens. KJ would have a lot more shot opportunities. Yeah. And again, I think I heard that there weren't Big Ten refs today. And you could definitely see in the flow of the game. Great team effort. 6 guys in double figures, rebounding almost double Northwestern. Exactly. This team wants to rebound the ball. And you know what? Northwestern wants to rebound the ball too. And rebounding was even last game, and that's why Northwestern kept it so close. But Illinois today just they attacked the basket. They, every time a shot went up on either side of the basketball court, they attacked the rim and grabbed rebounds, and we had plenty of second, if not third, opportunities. And you see it in the score. Again, only a 9-point difference, but we all know it was a lot better than that. Dave says Morez was a monster on defense today. Morez is one of the best defensive players in the Big Ten Conference. And I know Avicic is a quarterback of our defense, but I think on a one-on-one basis, Morez is even better. I think he, as a freshman, still needs to learn to be a little bit more vocal and, let the guys in front of him know what's happening. That's what Tommy's really, really good at. And that's why, Illinois is as good of a defensive team as they are. I believe they're ranked number 13 in defensive efficiency coming into this game. And let's be honest, defense, and this is going to be a future segment this week, is one of the reasons that Illinois, I haven't really lost faith in Illinois yet. Harvey says, now time to work their way back in the top 4 in the Big Ten. Yeah, but the thing is, let's just take it a game by game, right? At this point, I've said it. I've conceded the Big Ten Conference. It doesn't matter. It would have been nice, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. For me, I will take coming 4th in the Big Ten Conference if it means making another Elite 8 run or, even a Final 4 run, all of which this team is absolutely capable of making. Jason says, okay, this was a little earlier, so we've got 32 likes and 55 people watching. So yes, let's get those likes up. Again, this is a win. Hitting that like button should be nice and easy for you guys today. And again, make sure you're all subscribed while you're watching. Philip says the team looked healthy today. Definitely. And we're not in the excuse-making business. And so that's why, I'm trying to refrain from that after a lot of the backlash the Illinois team and community got last week after that Michigan State game. But the team didn't look healthy against Maryland. And you can tell that a lot of those players were out for practice. But today, they all looked good. Jason says, also, I know Lawhorn isn't the best player on the floor, but dang, I love his passion along with Morez. Yeah, I think if I had a bone to pick with Brad Underwood at this point, it's just like, can we get him more minutes? DGL is the one guy that no matter what the score is, he's going after it. And he's diving for loose balls, and he's got that energy. And I think he needs to be rewarded for it. Philip says, could be a blessing in disguise to have Avicic out, allows the team to develop more because he's going to get in foul trouble in the tournament at some point. Yeah, Philip, that's kind of what I said. This could be a positive thing in the long run in the sense where Illinois is going to have to learn to play without their big man. And this could cause Morez Johnson to develop a little bit more, expedite his process, into becoming a better player. And maybe a Kerry Booth can show himself onto the court and, show that he's available to play 5-10 minutes. It didn't happen today, but I doubt that we're going to get Morez with only 3 fouls in 34 minutes, the remaining next few games. All right. Fighting Line says, my goodness, when the effort is like that, the State Farm Center is rocking. We don't lose. Richard Kraft says, first half defense by Morez against Martinelli is the game. Yeah, Morez was fantastic that first half. Lee says, a win is a win, but this team can still learn lessons in victory, play hard until the buzzer, stay even-keeled, not too high in victory, not too low in defeat, no emotional letdown at Nebraska. Yeah, Nebraska's a tough place to play. I know they've lost a couple in a row, but I don't want any Illini fans, especially those watching this show right here, thinking that they are just going to go into Lincoln and win a basketball game. Nebraska, for whatever reason, it's just a very difficult place to play. And Illinois needs to have the same energy that they had today if they expect to come out of Lincoln with another win. Paul says, toughness and rebounding won it. 100% right, Paul. I can't disagree with, or can't agree with you more. Joe says, don't want to rush it, guys. Okay, well, yes, I guess guys do pass from mono. We're all praying for Tommy. Absolutely. Ann says, seems that's Brad's call to the league about the referees worked. And maybe, or they just brought in different referees. Because again, that's what I heard. I haven't confirmed. I'll confirm it for Monday's episode, but that's what I heard. It was like an ACC ref, a Big 12 ref. It was a completely different unit that they brought in for this game. Wilson says, still don't like being dependent on offensive rebounds to win. Seems like the team just takes a bunch of threes and hope for a long rebound. No go-to offense like booty ball or TSJ. Yeah, I mean, this team is definitely built differently, but I actually don't mind. If you teach rebounding, it'll keep you in games when shots aren't falling. And so, we don't have anyone besides Kasparis who really creates their own shot all that much. Maybe Trey White. Trey White is one of those guys who, again, you don't pay attention to when he scores 15 points a game. But we really don't have, I think the style of play that we have is basically surround Kasparis, give him some space, and let him make the right play. It's worked so far. Richard says, NBA, please back away from Riley. He is not ready to do right by this kid. Yes. Philip says, hopefully Jeffrey Anderson doesn't ref any Illinois games again. I can't. I completely agree with you there. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. We're at 32 minutes. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and thank you all so much for tuning in every single day. You continue. You guys are the reason that I'm the second biggest Illini show on all of YouTube. And this show's been going only on for 7 months or 8 months. 8 months in, we were already the second biggest channel on the Illini network just because of you guys. So appreciate you all. I'm going to have JR on for tomorrow for talking Big Ten power rankings. Where do we stack up against the rest of the conference? But I got content for you all week. I'm actually legit excited. I don't say this very often on Sunday's episodes, but the notes I've written down, I think you guys are going to really enjoy the shows that we have this week. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.